Chapter 16. A Moment.
Once they had landed, in the early morning they headed to the mansion. Thraint, Jenny, Tricia, and then Taylor emerged from the car. Taylor's mom and dad ran over and hugged him. "I'm glad you changed your mind, Dad," Taylor said to his father as they fell into an embrace. "Well, your mother convinced me that I am wrong," he said with a tear in his eye. They went into the house. Ashley pulled into the driveway. Running into the house, she saw Taylor and ran into his arms. "You're late," she said, holding him. They broke their hug. "Where's Nathan?" she asked, and all their faces dropped. Thraint told her the story, and she set her lip. "He will be remembered as a great hero, just like he always wanted," she said, and then she turned her mood to happiness. They spoke for a while, and Ashley told them that she wanted to return to the hotel. "You going to tell them all that Taylor's back?" Tricia asked. "No, take a day. I'll organize a meeting of the leaders tomorrow. Thraint, have everyone come down, including Taylor and Tyos. It'll be a great boost to morale. I'm thinking it may be time to call out Renard." Thraint nodded. "Agreed. It is time we end this once and for all," he said. "All right, see you tomorrow." She gave Taylor a hug, and she turned to Tricia. "I told you he wouldn't be able to stay away from you," she joked. They hugged, and she was off. They sat for a moment in silence, and then Taylor asked, "Who is Tyos?" They all burst out laughing. "Well, I could try to explain that, but I think it would be just easier to introduce you," Thraint said, and he left the room, and within a moment he walked back, trailed by the werewolf. "Taylor, it is an honor to meet you. I have heard a great deal about you," Tyos growled out. Taylor's eyes were gigantic. "Well, it's a great honor to meet you as well," he said, and he shook his claw. Tyos' nose crinkled up a bit. "I do not mean to offend you, but you may want to wash up. Your smell is a bit rank," Tyos said with a toothy grin. This brought a huge round of much-needed laughter. Tricia and Taylor excused themselves, and he slipped into the shower. He stood there for over 30 minutes. The past months washing over him as the water flowed over him. Taylor changed. He accepted who he was and what he would have to do. "Time to be the vampire they need you to be," he said, and snapped the water off. He dried off and shaved and walked out of the bathroom. Tricia was sitting on the bed looking at the valley below. "It's really amazing here. The view is breathtaking," Tricia said. "Maybe when this is over we should stay in Utah for a while." "Are you sure you even want to be with me?" Taylor asked. The question had lingered with him the entire trip. "Taylor, you fucked up. I'll give you that. And you better never run away from me again. But I love you, and I know in the end that's not what kept you away from us. Now, I won't lie, it shook my faith in you a little bit. But when we found out that you'd been taken, I knew I should have never questioned you," Tricia said, and walked over to him. "You may have been a dumbass, but you're my dumbass. And I love you," Tricia said, and slipped into his arms. "I love you so much, Tricia," Taylor said. "I promised I'll always stand by your side." "Well, that's fine, but it might make it kind of hard to lie in bed with me," Tricia said. Taylor dropped onto the bed with her. "Well, we can make an exception," Taylor said. "That lasted long," Tricia said with a laugh. Taylor was about to reply, but she kissed him and did not stop, and they made love in the morning light, and after the passion had boiled over, they slept for a few hours in each other's arms. They walked out into the main room, and there was Thraint, Tanar, Yannicka, Amy, and Tyos. "Hey, guys," Tricia said. Everyone looked up, and smiles spread across their faces. "Ashley called and asked if you guys were rested. Maybe we should have the meeting tonight," Thraint said. "That's fine. We're both feeling much better," Taylor replied, and gave Tricia a squeeze. "Is there coffee?" he asked, and floated into the kitchen. He returned with 2 steaming mugs a few seconds later, and he handed one to Tricia and then sat down next to Tyos. "So, you're a werewolf," Taylor said. "You are very observant," Tyos laughed, and they began talking about Tyos and his history. Taylor felt a bit behind, but was starting to catch up to all that had happened while he was gone. "We should head to the meeting," Thraint said a few hours later. They got up and headed for the few cars, and within a few moments they were in downtown Salt Lake. Austin walked up to the steps and smiled. Taylor was back. He could feel him. He hadn't even looked when the first of the few nice town cars pulled in. He went to the second one and opened the door, and Taylor stepped out and hugged him. "Damn good to see you, man." Austin had always known that he admired Taylor. What he could never seem to catch on to was how Taylor had the same admiration for him. Taylor would never forget the time Tricia was taken from him, and Austin held on just long enough to give him a chance. Tears welled in Austin's eyes. "It's great to have you back," Austin said, and they all walked into the giant entrance. Taylor smiled at his father. "Kind of gaudy, isn't it?" he asked. His mother stifled a giggle. "You're obviously too young to have any taste," his father said, raising an eyebrow. Yannicka gave Tricia's hand a squeeze and waited to walk into a large room converted into central command. The vampires that had come in with Tanar went in and sat down, and then Ashley walked into the front of the room. "I'm sorry to say that I have grave news. Recently we have launched a rescue attempt for Taylor, and Nathan was on that team, and has been ended." The room fell into a hush, tears breaking out on faces. "I loved Nathan like he was my brother, and I will never forget him, and neither will you, because for what Nathan gave up for all of us, he has brought us great hope." They pushed Taylor to the back, laughing at him. "Oh, am I giving a speech?" Taylor asked with a sly smile on his face. "Did we forget to mention that?" "I'm sure you'll do fine," Tricia said with a wink. "Better be good, too," his dad said with a smile. "Better be," agreed his mom. Taylor smiled. "All right, then." He pushed his way to the front of the line and blasted the door open. He walked to the front of the room, and there were faces he had seen and many that he had not. An army had grown, and some vampires Taylor had never met, but they had put their faith in him and Ashley. He strode into the center, and although he did not stand up to a microphone, he just used the acoustics of the room to project his voice to everyone at perfect volume. "Now first, let me just say that Nathan sacrificed too much to rescue me, and I will always feel that way. But I will not dishonor him by not standing to my uncle in every way. I learned a lot about my Uncle Renard. He's extremely powerful, he's quick-tempered, and he's extremely well-connected. But he's not very nice, and not a very gracious host." Taylor paused as some laughter echoed through the room. "I do not mean to make light. My uncle is a horrible threat, but in the end he is no more than we are. He is a vampire, with his weaknesses and his strengths, and he will fall like any of us." Taylor's face got serious and strong. "We must step up to my uncle. We are now on equal ground, and now is the time to stand up to Renard and say, if you want this world, you have to go through us." Taylor finished, and the crowd, which had sat silent for the entire speech, roared into applause. Taylor walked out of the room and sat in a chair in the hall. He blew out a long breath. "Hey, not bad," Tricia said, coming out of the doors. The others soon came out of the room. They would soon break up the meeting and send the leaders to ready for the battle. "We have a call to make," Taylor said to Ashley. She directed him to a room with a large screen that was set up against the wall. Taylor sat down on a laptop and started working on getting his call through. "How do you know he'll take your bait and come?" Ashley asked. "He's my dad's brother. He's my uncle. He has too much of an ego to turn down a challenge, especially from his nephew," Taylor said and winked at her. There were also several nods to verify the validity of this statement. They spoke for a moment, and then his uncle's logo came up on the screen. "See? Ego," Taylor said, and his uncle faded in. "I suppose you are calling to offer some peace settlement," Renard snapped. "No, I'm coming to offer you a time," Taylor said. His eyes glossed over red. "Your time has ended. It is time your words were silenced for good," Taylor snapped back. "Well, nephew, I think it will be you who is silenced. So be it. We shall meet at Jordanelle in 36 hours, and I will rip your heart out myself. I promise you, nephew. And Tanar, you will fall next to your fool son," Renard snapped, seeing him in the background. "Brother, I will be the first to admit that you are stronger than I am, but I promise you, you have nothing compared to this boy, and he is no fool," Tanar stated. "Do as you've always done, brother. Hide," Renard snapped. "Just remember, if you don't show up, you can't rip my heart out," Taylor said and killed the call. 36 hours puts us at dawn. Jordanelle is fully frozen over this time of year, Taylor said, going over the facts in his head. We need to get ready, Taylor looked up, and the next 24 hours were a blur.